another question. So, do you sit down at your computer to write? Do you carry like a book around with you?
Yeah.
What's your process?
You wake up in the middle of the night.
I'm sure you do, with a little notepad beside your bed.
No, I sleep like a log, which is really unfair because apparently I snore pretty loudly, which is not fair for whoever is.
Those of us that don't sleep well, we're jealous.
Oh, people are typing it in the comments. I'm sorry. Sorry again. I guess unreliable Wi-Fi is just a reason for us to defend net neutrality, right? See, I'm just so full of political rage today. Well, every day, really. So I got a question via text message that was, do you write while drinking scotch or only read? If so, what scotch do you enjoy sipping while writing? I am such a lightweight. I can look at a beer and be tipsy, so I can't do anything while writing poetry. I don't even like there to be noise in the world, which is why I write super early before anyone wakes up, because, you know, no one is eating up your time or your energy or your senses. And so one of the questions I got from the audience here is, do I write on my computer? Do I bring a notebook with me? Do I wake up in the middle of the night to write stuff down? And the answer is no, I don't, because I sleep like a log. And I snore really loudly, so that's really doubly unfortunate. Well, doubly fortunate for me. It means I'm sleeping super well. But I try to set aside an hour or two a day, and here it's more like 5 or 6 hours, which is lovely. But an hour or two a day at a computer, internet off, a book of poetry nearby, and then I just sit there and I keep pounding stuff out until something pretty or something not pretty comes out, and then eventually over time either a poem is made or I give up on it, or a poem is made and then I give up on it. I got a question on the Poets in Pajamas Facebook group, which I don't know if it was a serious question or not, but it seems serious to me, is what do you do with all your rage? Which, you know, is such a good question for all of us. What do we do with all of our rage? And so I think, thankfully, one of the things is I got to spend 6 or 7 hours a day writing poetry here, which this month has just been the most absurd month that I have ever witnessed in my life. And I'm sure many of you have ever witnessed in your life. And I think more importantly than what do I do with my rage, because rage comes and rage goes, you know, like emotions are fleeting. But something that I've been struggling about is like, how do you make sense with the world again? If someone just totally breaks all the rules of how you think the world works. No, you're great. No, he's great. I would never do anything to make a dog go away from me. I would never make a dog go away from me. There's a dog next door to us. Okay. He's good. So the question is, how do you make the world make sense again when someone is telling you the world doesn't make sense again, which is sort of one of the reasons that I love poetry. Like, I facetiously answered that poets have more fun, but I also think poets have a lot more tools in how to process the world. So I've been spending the month thinking about how do I express the world that I want to live in and the world that I think should exist. You know, and as a result, a lot of my poems have been super angry and super ragey, you know, which I think is appropriate. I think that's how you rebuild a world that needs to be rebuilt on a lot of brown queer people's rage. So I hope that's a good answer. So my Facebook page is not currently working. So let me know on here if you guys have any questions, or you can send me questions via text again. Someone just asked, what kind of scotch are you drinking? Which do you prefer? I'm currently drinking Lafroig. I don't remember which year it is. What year? It's a 10-year Lafroig. And what should I prefer? I like almost all kinds of scotches. I do like peaty scotches, which, if those of you who aren't familiar with what peaty means, it means like a meat taste, which is sort of disgusting. Another way to describe it is like licking the inside of a chimney, which I love that flame. I love it when a campfire goes out and you stand right by it and then the smoke just blows in your face, which I'm sure is like super carcinogenic and not at all sanitary, but you know what? We're all going to die at some point, so I'm going to enjoy it.
You would like Talisker.
What's Talisker?
It's a very peaty scotch.
Is it the one you were talking about that tastes like an ashtray?
Somebody else.
Oh. Yeah, someone says all scotch tastes like ashtrays, and I don't disagree with that, but it's a flavor that works. One of the questions I just got is, how do you feel about Rupi Kaur and other Insta poetry? I am of the opinion that reading is probably one of the most fundamental things we can do, either, as people who are developing, but even as I say that, I think we're all always developing, like in every single day. The mind is so neuroplastic. So even if I don't like a lot of this poetry that's being called Insta poetry, I love that it exists and I love that people are reading it, and I don't think that it does us much harm to have that as a medium, and in fact does us a lot of great, because that means poetry is accessible to different people and different people can write poetry in different ways. One of the questions I have is, what effect do you hope your poetry will have on others? And that's such a great question. I'm a Leo, so I don't really ever think about other people when I write about poetry. I just think about myself. But I do think about writing my poems as ways to give other people a sense of what I'm thinking or feeling at any point. Because I don't really tell anyone what I'm feeling usually. I just I live alone, I spend most of my time alone, and as a result, I don't think a lot of people always get a great sense of what's going on besides this, really fabulous hair. And I imagine this poetry as being a way to explain, like, this is what I'm thinking about when I can't explain to you what I'm thinking about.
That leads me to a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did this really fabulous hair come about? What was your inspiration?
How did this fabulous hair come about? So one of the questions is, how does this fabulous hair come about? And how do I explain it?
You say audio.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, like, really fabulous lesbians are my entire style inspiration. Is I would love to be just like this really butch lesbian. And I'm there, I think. But one of the issues I'm having right now is apparently this haircut is super popular with neo-Nazis. And so, I mean, no one's gonna mistake me for a neo-Nazi, so I think I'm safe. But, like, I don't know. Do I give up a style that's being co-opted by the enemies? I don't know. One of the questions I just got is, has writing poetry affected how you write essays? You guys just asked me all these questions that are exposing all my inner workings. So when I was writing essays, the reason I would write essays is I would always have a sentence in my head that I would want to get to. Like, I'd write this, like, 3-page thing that would build up just so I could give you a killer, just closing sentence. Which is, like, as I said earlier, that's what poetry is, someone who wants to share a particular line with you. So I guess that is to say, my essay writing has affected my poetry. And I guess my essays have always tried to be poems in their own minds. And with that, we are at 7:30. I, of course, will be around for a few more minutes, but I think that by the laws of Poets in Pajamas, I'm allowed to let you guys go. I have one more question. How do you get in the creative poem-making mindset when your mental space is full of other things? That's a great question. My head is not full of many other things. I'm fairly empty. No, so I think that we are obviously full of a lot of things, and even if, we say that our jobs don't fill up our mind or our family or our everyday lives, like there's so much in the world that'll just beat you down and demand the space. And I think those things deserve that space. Like we are people even when we're not writers. But you can prioritize things to make them work, right? So like when I wake up, I'll say that my mind is pretty fresh. And it's not fresh, but what I mean by that is my mind is pretty quiet. The world is pretty quiet. And there are certain things that I can only do when it's quiet, which includes reading and includes writing, so that's when I do that. But I can write progress notes when it's loud out, because I, sort of have to do that. So I'll do that stuff later when it's louder or when my mind is louder. So with that question, I'll end this stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate it a lot. Take care.